cut all this out. Alexander Usyk got it done. He gave Anthony Joshua that work, but I want to cover some of the things that I observed during the course of that bout. We should let some time cruise by, and we'll get right into it. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. Come on in, find the like button, hit it. I'll probably give it a couple more seconds, and then I'm just gonna get right into it. I don't have a lot to say, but we're gonna break it down. All right, let's just rock. So Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk just wrapped up. Split decision victory for Alexander Usyk. I don't really agree with that. I feel like it was unanimous. Shout out to the officials. They judged it how they judged it. I did not see a scenario which AJ got not any rounds, but excuse me, won on any cards. But shout out to them. That's what they get paid to do. What I wanted to cover was really two things. First and foremost, shout out to Alexander Usyk. He got it done. Shout out to the Ukraine. Shout out to heavyweight boxing. That was a great fight, in my opinion. I really enjoyed watching it. There was definitely decent ebbs and flows. I think it was round 9. Usyk was looking questionable to the body. He was running around and holding his arms down like this and, looking at the ref and shit, looking at his corner. But I want to focus on AJ for the purposes of this particular conversation. Got you. Shout out to Brenda. Speaking of Brenda, shout out to Brenda. Shout out to my man AJ. And I said this probably around round 5. No matter what happened in that fight, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Anthony Joshua because he legitimately came in there with the work of Robert Garcia, his team that they brought in, and like one holdover, I believe, from his previous camp after 11 years. And he legitimately made adjustments. He got better as a fighter. And even though he's still young in his career, he doesn't even have 30 fights yet. It's extremely rare to see a fighter take a loss, go back to the drawing board. It's been a little over a year, I believe, since they last fought. Usyk Joshua won and legitimately get better. I think the gas tank became an issue later on in the fight. But that aside, a couple of observations that I made. Anthony Joshua can punch, he can fight, and he has good speed. Getting in the ring, playing cute, and not letting your hands go is problematic. It's going to get you in trouble, especially against a special fighter like Alexander Usyk. I'm not saying that Joshua beat Usyk, but you give yourself a better opportunity, as you can see with the body work, when you start actually letting your hands go. More specifically, it wasn't until round 7 or 8 he started firing the jab like he's supposed to fire the jab. He would come here, if I can give you an example, and he'd be here, and he would put the jab out here, and he would just stick it like this. You have to fire the jab through the target. That shoulder has to touch that chin, rub that beard off to get any kind of effectiveness on the jab. When he started throwing a legitimate jab at Usyk, he started having success to the body. I don't know why it takes 7 or 8 rounds for people to get it through their head. Let me use all the tools I have in my toolbox and start putting damage on the guy. That's Mike Tyson. The second thing I want to add for Anthony Joshua is the body work. If you guys watched the fight, it just ended. His body work was tremendous, but too little too late. And he still, when he was having success digging to the body on both sides, then he would just stand there like, oh, I wonder if I did a great job or not. Continue to rip to the body, step back, pop a power jab, and then rip back to the solar plexus. He was doing some of these things. I just wanted to see it more at a higher clip. He would get in a position, land a good shot, and then look at Usyk like, was that good? Did you like what I did there? Did you see the work that I did? And then, get clipped up. Usyk, terrific off-rhythm fighter. He makes it difficult for the opposition to really get a good bead because he does shit off rhythm. You think it's jab, reset, head movement, 1, 2. Usyk is jab, get clipped, reset feet, jab, slip, right hand, jab, jab. He does so many different things well, and it's all in the pace of movement. It makes it difficult for any fighter, not just Joshua, to keep up with that. But going back to Anthony Joshua, there were rumors circulating around him possibly retiring if the ball didn't bounce his way. I think he lost, and I think he lost convincingly. but he looked good doing it. I think he's still a viable heavyweight. I don't know where his mental's at. And so shout out to Brendan and shout out to AJ, who I just talked about earlier, or my man Al, excuse me. If you can't make the adjustment mentally, it doesn't really matter what you can do physically. And right now, Anthony Joshua is struggling to make mental adjustments and get in there and use his weapons and stop thinking. You can see it on his face. If you guys have ever been in the ring, when you go from the place where you graduate from thinking about how you're going to deploy your offense to just free flowing, doing what you want to do, utilizing whatever tools that are best for you, it feels different. Anthony Joshua is an Olympic medalist, a gold medalist at that. And he's fighting like this is his first time in there. I know it's the height of the sport, but you go back to the Klitschko fight. Excuse me. Shout out to my man Al. Go back to the Klitschko fight. You saw AJ get in trouble, get dropped, get rocked, and get up and fight his ass off. Throw crazy shots, uppercut, shit with heat. Anthony Joshua in this fight spent too much time trying to be measured in his approach against a guy that's just flatly a better boxer. AJ could have more power, more size, more ways to get you out of there because he does have power and speed. But Alexander Usyk, all of that shit aside, is just a better boxer. So the plan to try to go in and box, live on the outside or middle distance and be cute for like 8 rounds, that's problematic in nature. Switching over to Alexander Usyk. Took the first 2 rounds off. Through 4 rounds, I had it 2-2. Then he started picking up the pace, really varying his attack. Lived on the outside. That's one thing. Another thing AJ kind of fucked up is he didn't live. He allowed Usyk to live on the leverage position. The lefty versus righty, southpaw versus orthodox. He had his foot on the outside the entire time. Joshua was so hell bent on being bladed, having a good defensive posture, he kind of negated the fact that Usyk was winning the footwork battle from a leverage position perspective. He just was. That made it easy for Usyk to get his left hand off, have a variety of shots. Back half of the fight, you start seeing the 5-2 combination, so left hand, right hand over the top, or vice versa for the southpaw fighter. But you started seeing him get that off more and more because he had no resistance from the footwork perspective. What is next for these two fighters? Well, Alexander Usyk remains undefeated. I think the extra bulk, shout out to Brenda, because this is something I brought up to her earlier. I did affect him on the back half of the fight because even though he was getting dug to the body very viciously, he looked like he slowed down. Now, he had a great 12th round. He left it all out there. He almost risked getting knocked out to show the judges, I'm going to win this fight. I'm going to win this round. And because they scored it a split decision, it looks like he made the right decision because for me, I didn't see that fight as a split decision. I saw it as a UD, but you never leave it in the hands of the judges. He sold out in the 12th round, threw a bunch of punches, made Joshua work, and got the victory. What's next for Anthony Joshua? It's hard to tell. I'm not watching the post-fight right now. I don't know if they're doing interviews or speaking to him. But like I mentioned before, a couple minutes ago, I don't think he's done. I think his career is still very young. He has some adjustments to make purely from a psychological perspective. That is it. The dude's in great shape. He can punch. He has good speed and athleticism for a heavyweight. But I still feel like he overreacts to big shots. It wasn't as bad as the first fight. He took some shots in this fight, uptight, counter shots, and he wore them well. He had the little sweat flying off his shit. He was getting hit, yep, and then the sweat will fly off a little bit. But he would stay in there, check himself, and then reset. But then that's all he would do. Usyk really was allowed to operate however he wanted to operate, and it made for an interesting fight. I want to say shout out to Robert Garcia. If you guys didn't know this, when that fight started, he started outside of the ring, down by the stool off the steps. By the second or third round, he was in the ring on the apron giving instructions. I think that was important, and I think that was necessary. And I think that Anthony Joshua did an effective job for the most part, listening to the adjustments that Robert Garcia was trying to provide. I think that Alexander Usyk was just much too smart. He had an adjustment for the adjustments, and he went in there and did his thing. It wasn't easy, but I feel like, he won in my mind convincingly. What do we want to see next? Let's go big picture for the heavyweight division. We know that we are confirmed at this point for Deontay Wilder, Robert Helenius. I'll do a separate live just kind of talking about that fight, and I'll also break that fight down in a detailed manner like I do. But you have that out there. Did Tyson Fury give his? If somebody knows, did Tyson Fury give his belt up? He has a WBC belt. Hold up. Shout out to my man Alex. Yeah, AJ just doesn't have the pressure to oh, shout out to Black No C. Usyk won. They called it a split decision, but for me, I saw it as a UD. AJ had his moments. He did great body work. Alexander Usyk just had an answer for everything that AJ did. That was pretty much the story of the bout. But going back to my man Alex, I don't know if it's an output issue more so than it's an overthinking issue. He's an active fighter. He has, good hands. He's just standing there thinking about shit and then getting touched up. And now you're behind the eight ball trying to win a fight against a fighter who can move very, very well, who's offensive and defensively sound, and is a world champion for a reason. Undisputed at light heavyweight, moves to heavyweight, and or excuse me, cruiserweight, and he's dude's a beast. But Helenius, Wilder, they're floating around out there. Usyk at this point has 75,000 belts. I want to see what happens next. Is Tyson Fury still in the division? Is he retired, not retired? What's up with the WBC belt? Because that opened things up. If you guys had an opportunity to see the co-main event with Helenius and Jung, that was a crazy-ass fight. Neither one of those dudes are ready for AJ or Usyk, in my opinion. Matter of fact, I think they should rematch because I think it would be a great rematch. Shout out to Alex again. He would have hurt Usyk and then would have to hold him. And I'm just like, shake my head. Yo, excuse me, I'm sorry. He would hurt. Yes, absolutely. It was very bizarre. You land a big shot. Usyk is clearly hurt, whether he has a baby stanky leg or he's holding his guts, his insides. And then AJ's just like, yeah, you see what I did? You see I touched you up right there? Yeah. And then Usyk is coming back with some shit. That was very bizarre and a good observation on your part. Shout out to Black No C. AJ don't have enough dog in him at all. Thinking, hesitating is why he lost to Andy Ruiz. Absolutely. And even when he got the victory, when they went back to Saudi Arabia in the second fight, I know they talk about Andy Ruiz was overweight and all this other extra shit, and he was eating cheeseburgers. I get that. But in that fight, the second fight that AJ won, he just lifted on the outside, jabbed, and moved around like AJ was a world beater. Oh, shit. Hold up. Oh, okay, we back. That first loss that he suffered to Andy Ruiz, in my mind, I feel like he has not recovered from that. This is a guy who's an Olympian who's knocked out a bunch of people, other good fighters, and been feeling himself and have fireworks with his initials and shit. And now he's in here, bladed stance, and he's thinking about everything that's happening right in front of him. And at some point in time, you have to go to your offense. I thought it was happening round 7, 8, and 9. I felt like AJ was fighting his rhythm. And then Usyk just came out and just started punching him upside his head. And he's like, oh, shit, I forgot how to fight again. Time to go back to my defensive stance and just get touched up. Very bizarre stuff. And this is what I talked about. Talked about it with Al. Talked about it with Brenda. If he's going to live inside of his head, then this is going to be the outcome. Even against lesser opposition. And then imagine, and Usyk, I don't know if it's on purpose or not, but at times he doesn't look like he's putting that much pop on his punches. You fight a guy like a Wilder who doesn't, he's killing you in the ring. If you're going to stand in front of Wilder like this and be cute, you're getting knocked out badly. Tyson Fury, best heavyweight out, though. I don't see him losing. You can't argue that, He went up against the most destructive puncher in the sport of boxing, in my opinion, the history of boxing, and Deontay Wilder had a draw and 2 stoppage victories, and he had to get off the deck to get it done. And the third fight, that was crazy. So it's hard to argue against Tyson Fury. He's a bit of an anomaly with his size and boxing ability. But my question is he still active in the sport? There's conflicting information surrounding that. He talks about he wants to give up the belt, but then he said he'll fight AJ for free just to beat him up. I don't know if an AJ for free fight has that much appeal anymore because he can't get past a cruiserweight and Alexander Usyk. And that's no disrespect to Usyk, but a guy with the power and speed and athleticism of Anthony Joshua, if he just sells out, he knocks out a Usyk. That's a fact. If he sells out and says, I don't give a shit about any of this stuff and whatever angles and all that, I'm just going to sell out, sit on my punches until I catch you, he knocks Usyk out. But he wouldn't do it. And I think it was Black No C, to his point, he would catch Usyk and then just watch. Very bizarre. But my question to those in the chat right now is, what is next in the heavyweight? Oh, we back. All right. My only problem with Fury is I think he struggles with small, fast fighters and struggles with southpaws. I favor Fury, but I still think Usyk can give Fury problems. I agree with you, but it's for reasons that are psychological purely. I think Fury would look at Usyk as such a non-threat. He wouldn't take the fight serious and then end up in a close-ass fight, possibly losing. If Tyson Fury took Usyk as big a threat as like Wilder, I just think because Fury can box, he can move, he can do it all, really. He's not the biggest puncher, even though he stopped Wilder. Being 300 pounds helps you 280 or whatever. I don't even like that fight for Usyk. If Tyson Fury takes that fight serious, I don't see how Usyk. My bad. Hold on. What the hell is going on here? This shit is going crazy. Anyway, if Tyson Fury took the Usyk serious, let's just assume they would. I can't see a way that that shit is cute, but no way. I just don't see it. He's too big and he can box. I'll call Usyk a better fighter, but when you start having a large discrepancy in the physical attributes, that's when you run into a problem when you have who's much taller than you and much heavier. And he's not going to be like AJ and be cute and not hold and pressure. AJ tried to pressure, but he had passive pressure. He wasn't pressuring in real life. You pressure with your lead hand, you pick up your outside foot, you gain the leverage, and you start deploying your right hand as an orthodox fighter. That's what he didn't do. Back half of the fight, he starts going to the body, which is a beautiful adjustment. He has one great round and doesn't do it until the 11th round. After he's getting his ass kicked, he wants to body. Very confusing stuff. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a great fight. I thought it was a great fight. Um, I don't know if I paid this, but I pretty much peeped almost every fight on the card. Shout out to Chris Algieri. His ass whooped by Manny Pacquiao on Aerospins has not done him wrong. I thought he did a great job on the call. And I only bring this up because the zone, Sergio Mora, and some of these other dudes, they're really kind of awful. And Chris Algieri and the other dude, I don't know who he was with, did a fantastic job on the call. Bump Chris Mannix. I think Fury gave up the lineal belt, but not the WBC belt. I just don't think it's going to be a crazy money fight or something that just makes sense to him. I don't even like the fact that we have to have a conversation like that. Oh, I wonder what Tyson Fury's doing, even though we know he's holding up a belt. But let me put this question to those in the chat. What did you think of the fight? Alexander Usyk defeats Anthony Joshua via decision in Saudi Arabia. What did you guys think of the fight? Thought it was a good fight, good back and forth, good ebbs and flows. First 4 rounds, 2-2. Usyk steps on the gas. Joshua working the body. He's confident. He's smiling, going back to the corner shit. And then eventually reality sets in. Gas tank runs out. Goes back to old habits. He gets stuck in the mud. Usyk gets it done. Overall, tremendous fight. But that's all I have for now. I'll probably do a post-fight breakdown, provide the examples, cut the video up like I do. Let me know what you saw in the video. Excuse me, the fight. I thought it was a good fight. It was an entertaining fight. I enjoyed watching it. The card was actually pretty good as well. A young cat, up and comer, 31 years old. He fought Jack, and in the 9th round, they had a 4-minute round. That was hilarious. How could this is outrageous? You have one job as a timekeeper. All that shit is true. They made it sound like this was a world champion. It was a 10-round fight. They made it sound like it was Mayweather Pacquiao, and there was a 4-round. But I think it was a decent card that the zones put on from an entertainment perspective. I know some of the names on there are not well known to everybody out there. Still a tremendous card. To wrap this live up, Alexander Usyk was able to get it done against Anthony Joshua. I still think Anthony Joshua is a viable heavyweight in the division. He's still got to get over some mental hurdles. He has all the physical skills and abilities and attributes to be, but you either got a Usyk or you got to go through a Fury. So it's a tough order. Perhaps he turned into a money style fight. Oh, you thought Ergovich lost? That's interesting. It was a very close fight. Ergovich was just watching his face. He got dropped early, I think in the 1st or 2nd round. But I think like we talked about the Joshua fight, Usyk fight, Jung would blast Ergovic and then just look at him, apply the pressure, get him out of here because Ergovic multiple times, 9th, 10th, 11, he was in trouble multiple, just wandering around the ring and shit. It was very bizarre, but it was a close fight, and Jung didn't really protest. It'd be dope if they did it again, but I can't see that happening. But that was, if you guys didn't know, that was a entertaining fight, heavyweight bout. I didn't know at the time they were both undefeated, so shout out to them. That was an IBF eliminator. So one of them would be eligible to fight at Usyk. Neither one of them would beat Usyk. And even if AJ won, I don't think Ergovic or Jung beat AJ. I don't. Jung kind of hit hard though. He got heavyweight heat. But anyway, that's my time on live. Those who came through, I appreciate the love. Thanks for sticking with me, rocking with me. Channel still going crazy. Hold up. I think the other guy was just old, probably couldn't get him out. He's only 29 years old. Jung's only 29. He just looked like he's 45. That he's from China. He's only 29 years old, which is wild. Shout out to Ergovic. So I think they're both dope. I think there's fight out there for both of them in the heavyweight division, and I think it's important for us to get more. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He's only 9. Exactly. Go ahead and look that up. Yeah, that's crazy. He's only 29. That shit is crazy. He out there looking like somebody's grandpa with hands and a little bit of belly meat, but we're not mad at that. So shout out to him. But 39, that's not 39. It's not 30. Somebody look that up. I can't do that. He's not 39. Is he 39? I think he's 29. Hold on. Because that would make more sense. That's hilarious. They got some other old dude they told already 59. 59 makes more sense. Is he 39? All right. Shout out to me. I could have sworn like, yeah, he's 29. He has a lot left in the tank. He doesn't have left in the tank. At 39, he needs to go ahead and hang it up. He looks good for 39, though. I'm not mad at him. And got the victory. But, it's kind of like Badu Jack. I think, how old is Badu Jack? I think they said he's 38. Yeah, Badu Jack's 38. He looked 38 at cruiserweight. Yeah. He almost lost trying to be cute. Anyway, heavyweight division, they got some work to do, but Waters back, Helenius, that's a dope fight. And we got AJ does after this. On the real, I hope he doesn't walk away from the sport. Midway through the fight, I almost felt bad for him. I was like, damn, he's really trying hard, really trying to get this done. And Usyk was just too crafty, too much for him. He did his thing. But that's my time. Shout out to you guys. Channel's still growing, rocking with me. We're trying to do the best we can. Shout out to Brendan McDonald. Shout out to my man Al. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Alex. We out.